Tuesday, President Donald Trump fired FBI Director James Comey, the man in charge of the Trump-Russia investigation. Now, President Trump explained the firing was due to the, quote, handling of the Hillary Clinton investigation into the use of a private email server. The shocking news raises many questions, especially when Trump has praised Comey for his actions during the campaign. Plus, Sally Yates testifies that she warned the president about the hiring of Michael Flynn. Here now to break down the latest issues, we welcome now BMC professor, political commentator, as well as lawyer J.C. Polanco, owner of Retrovision Media, Lee Vines here with us. And gentlemen, good to have you.
Good morning.
Of course, not a morning without controversy, and it's the morning after, if you will. When we look back at the firing of James Comey, I think the first thing that comes to mind, Lee, is timing.
Well, timing, as they say, is everything. Perception is actually even more. And considering that this situation took place concerning a incident that happened back in July 5th when Comey decided that he had to come out and say something when he saw Lynch having a little get-together with Bill Clinton on the tarmac, and that was a huge no-no considering the situation that he was investigating Hillary Clinton. So they were able to use that incident as a pretext to get rid of him. And the perception at this point is that most people feel that Comey bit the dust simply because of the fact that he was getting just a little too close, and Donald Trump perhaps was getting a little bit too nervous.
Mm-hmm. I think the timing is awful, but there's never a good time to fire an FBI director. There's always going to be an investigation. I could see why so many people are concerned this morning. Why would the FBI director be fired during an investigation of the president's men, right? But we have to also remember one thing. We have to remember that this is a country of laws and a constitution, and the president has the authority to fire any of the directors or any of the appointments to the cabinet. Now, it is clear that since Comey had the press conference on why Hillary Clinton would not be indicted, or why he would not recommend to then Attorney General Lynch that Hillary Clinton be indicted, after explaining all the reasons that any other human being on the face of the earth would be indicted, from that moment on, the Department of Justice and the FBI have been stained and marked. And then when we look in October and the Comey letter hits, there's not one Democrat that I know that wasn't angry at Comey for what he did. As a matter of fact, even last week, Secretary Clinton blames that Comey letter on her defeat. Now, at the end of the day, you're looking at the Comey letter, violations of the rules of the Department of Justice when it comes to coming to the press and issuing releases to the press days before an election. You're looking at the fact that the morale is down at the FBI and that so many people question the Department of Justice. What the president did here is within his authority. The problem is that perception, as you say, is reality for many. And he may not be convicted in court yet, or there may not be any indictments, but he's been indicted in the court of public opinion.
Well, let's talk about this. You said that, obviously the president does have the authority to do this, but to look at how this takes precedent, only once in presidential history, and that was under President Clinton, that a president has fired an FBI director.
Under President Nixon.
That
was Nixon when that happened.
Right, so you've had that happen only once.
But it was different because Nixon had a Democratic Congress. This time around, the president has a Republican-controlled government. So it's a very different scenario. But at least under Nixon, there was some checks and balance because he could fire the FBI director, but the Congress was still in Democratic control.
The thing is,
here is very different. He's fired the FBI director, and we're still in charge. So we've never seen anything like this. This is the first time you see an FBI director dismissed and a party completely in control of both houses of Congress. We're not prepared. Our Constitution is not prepared for this. This is the first time this has ever happened.
And that's one of the reasons why the Republicans have to step up if they want to make sure that the country is still being run under a rule of law and not going off on some tangent by someone who feels as though that he pretty much could do anything he wants as president. They're going to have to step up, and they are. There are a number of Republican senators who have come out, House representatives as well, to express their displeasure with how things are going, and they are determined to get to the bottom of this. And I think that if it does break down along party lines and Republicans kind of take a step back and just wait and see what happens, then that's when the country can actually start worrying about, do we have a democracy or do we have a cane?
I think at all times you will have a democracy. I think our democracy, however, is timed. So you're going to see in the next 2 years there will be a midterm election and the country will speak then. I'll tell you this. The president was within his authority to do what he did. The Democrats are split on this. You know, I speak to Democrats last night, and Democrats are saying to themselves, good for him. When you play with, you get. Exactly. So then when I see this, and I just blanked myself out, when you see what Comey did to Hillary Clinton, they're happy he's gone. Now, when you realize that so many Democrats are happy about that, and then you realize that the Republicans themselves are split, you may have a room for compromise. And this is some of the things I'm thinking about. Perhaps, and I think you may agree. Let me just 1 second. I think you'd agree with me on this. If we appoint an independent counsel or special prosecutor on this to investigate both, you may end up with a compromise. Both the Clinton emails and the handling of the emails, and an investigation into Russiagate. That may be the compromise that could get through.
I'm not sure we're looking for compromise simply because of the fact that former director Comey had pretty much made a pretty strong argument for himself that he said, look, I have Democrats coming after me, I have Republicans coming after me. If that's generally the case, then probably you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing.
And the question I have is this: you've had.
Now, that's not to say that there weren't issues.
But President Trump has praised Director Comey and said that he's done good work, and then yet and still he ends up on the chopping block. The question that's asked is, if you really felt this way and you felt that this was such a violation, why not fire him in January when you were firing everybody else?
Well, he felt. Could I answer this really quickly? Because he felt he said the same thing about Mike Flynn. Mike Flynn was a great guy. He was doing what he was supposed to do. But you know, when the news was finally reported that Flynn was making deals on the side for himself, all of a sudden he was gone. So, with regards to any loyalty, I don't think Trump has it. If he finds that he's threatened in any way whatsoever, you're done.
I think President Trump is very. I've never seen anything like it. I think his praises are kisses of death, if you think about it. You know, Preet Bharara was told that he was going to stay on because he's doing a good job in the Southern District. Preet Bharara is gone.
Precisely.
Right. So then you look at Flynn. Flynn is great. Flynn was even mentioned as a potential running mate at one point, remember? He's gone. And then you look at Bannon. Bannon was, the CEO of the campaign. Now Bannon is someone that just works for him. And now finally we see what happened with Comey. I've seen him a couple of times praise Comey, and Comey's gone. So it could be the kiss of death, but I got to remind you guys of something that I think is important. It's within his right. This is his administration, and he's coming to us from a business background where this type of stuff happens all the time. People get fired regularly in business, and this is the kind of background that he has.
But they are afforded the opportunity of a decent firing. Comey found out he was done while he was in LA at the FBI's office, speaking to the rank and file, letting them know, look, there's a lot of stuff going on. We want to pull ourselves together and handle this the right way. Meanwhile, there's a bank of monitors right behind him running a scroll saying he's been fired. Now,
Okay, so he's like school on Sunday, no class, but he's still president. And we have to remember this is within his authority.
We'll take a quick break, and we'll take a quick break and continue our discussion about the FBI, or I should say the firing of FBI Director James Comey, in addition to where does the Russian investigation now go? We'll return right after this.